Uh, Ron, we're having your demo on three-sided, turning a three-sided bowl.
All right. Let's see if I can get this full screen. Everybody on?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Let's start out with a cube. Right, this is a particular one's three-sided, is 3 inches. And we're going to demonstrate how to do make the jig and then demonstrate some turning of the part. This one I have in the video here, I already did put the foot on, but we'll show on the lathe a little bit more about it. And I want to describe how to make the jig. It's a simple plate on the back and 3 sides. And then you can do these with cup chucks or cup, a little cup center and a cup drive. But most people don't have a cup drive on their headstock, so it's a little hard to set up. But there you can see where you're holding in the chuck with the center at the end. Trying to get a point right on that corner is really difficult. So now there's the jig. What you end up with is an angle of 32.5 degrees, 32.25 degrees actually on the base, and then cut the sides at 45 degrees and put them together. Here you can see this side and this side come together and such that when you cut that 45 degrees, you can lay this one right up against it and run a screw through here and hold all the 3 sides together that way. And then you can glue them onto the faceplate. This is a side. Now, what do we got? The computer's hanging up on me. I've been having some trouble with my computer lately. I was hoping it wouldn't show up here tonight.
Ron, the angles you said again, the angle to the faceplate, that was
The angle
30.
to the faceplate from the side is 32.25 degrees. And I measured it out, or 35.25. I measured it out on the lathe roughly, and then I went through and calculated it out. That's what it came out to be.
That's interesting.
Sorry about that. I don't know what we can do here. Maybe I'm gonna have to get out of here and see if I can.
Well, maybe Ben now has his June topic.
Hey, that would be a great idea. I mean, could you do it, would you do it live?
What's that?
Could you do it live over at the shop?
Yeah, maybe July. I don't know why.
Yeah, guys, I haven't heard it, but I've gotten 2 warnings on my phone about a severe thunderstorm warning around the Lancaster area. I mean, we're all Zooming, so we all have connection. But
Really?
All right. Are you able to see that now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I restarted. So there's how the side fits onto the face. Okay. Okay, so here's some of the bowls that I made. This is, I believe this is probably a 4-inch cube that I started with. And that's how they fit in the chuck whenever you're starting out with them. This other one's probably, that's 3 inches. And then here's another variation. I was wondering, what if I turned the extra wings on the bottom of it? And then, of course, you can turn a little ridge in there, make boxes. So
Wow.
different things you can do with it. And I just like the 3-sided bowls are kind of cute little things. A little different than some of the things that you see.
What did you start out with the one on the bottom left there, Ron?
That's 3 inch.
A cube as well?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, so this is typical turning, you square up. Make your face flat. And I often have, I usually have a tendency of riding out a little bit in the center. So I'm going to be high in the center. And invariably, I'm going to end up with that. I use this saw, the back of the saw for a straight edge. And there you can see it rocks a little bit. So I got to clean up the center. This is that thing that Ellsworth was talking about laying your bowl gouge out on the edge and cutting with that edge wing. I do that all the time. It is a little bit scary. If you go over too far, you're going to get a good dig in. But then I like to do shear scraping to clean everything up. So that's prepping now. One of the things that, even on a bowl, when you're making a bowl, you want to make sure that you get a center point. So always bring the tailstock up. Make sure you have a good center point. That way you want to bring your bowl back up and finish off the bottom foot or whatever. It just makes it nice. But for this, you need a center line. And I have these little drafting triangles, 30, 60, 45 degree, and draw your 120 degree lines on the faceplate. So I use one of these triangles to set my sliding bevel gauge. Just set that up. You find the 35 degrees up here, and set that up. And then I use a bandsaw for a lot of cross cutting and ripping, more so than a table saw. And so I tilt the table on the table saw and use the bevel gauge to set it up. There is a gauge on the bandsaw, but sometimes they're not, the pointers are moved or whatever. Especially in the shop where we are, guys are moving everything around. And we have a fence on this saw where it's only a 1/4 inch high, so that works pretty good. So now I'm going to rip the 35 degree angle, and this piece is wide enough to make two sides wide, and it's long enough to make 2 sides, so I can get 4 out of here. So I just rip off both sides and then split it, and I've got 4, enough for make 4 sides. So now we've got the jig. Like I said, we use this couple of screws to screw it together and glue it onto the blank. So now I have a pointed tenon on this. This one already had a tenon on it, and I use my Badan usually square up the foot. But I try to make the foot as small as I can. This is my stronghold chuck, but I have a one-way talon, which is smaller, and that way I can take off less wood for the foot. So I use a smaller chuck for that. Well, this is a bigger 4-inch block, so I guess I did make a bigger foot for the big chuck. But I'm using a pointed center on here. This piece had a chunk taken out of the corner of it, so I was able to find the center and put a point on it. But if you have a square, sharp corner like so, you want to usually use a cup chuck back here, cup center, and straddle the point. But there you can see the shape of what's turning. You got points coming out over here on the side and in the back. So you've got to come in very carefully when you come in. You can hear the intermittent cuts, and there's no shavings coming off here. It's all crumbs, chunks, because you're really cutting a lot of air. Very little continuous cutting. Now I'm getting out close to the edge here to try to start shaping it. Important thing is, of course, you want to be able to see that ghost line that's spinning, and make sure you have your tool tight to the tool rest when you slide up in there very carefully. Now I'm going to get that big nub out of the middle there. That'll get out of the way, and I can start really turning the inside of the bowl. I'm using here a Doug Thompson 1/2-inch bow gouge. I use that for nearly everything. That and a 3/8 bow gouge are two that I like more than any of them. Now we'll get that out of the way.
Ron, did you say that somebody showed you this in a demo somewhere or hands-on?
What's that?
This whole process, making the jig and everything else. I mean, it's,
I've seen the different places, but I've seen this made with cup drives,
yeah,
and I just decided to make. You can buy these little jigs. I don't have no idea what they cost, but I thought, well, something that simple, I can make it. So that's what I did.
great.
Now, see there were two different cuts. I'll go back there and show that. I had the tool up on its edge so that I'm advancing into it with the very tip of the tool on the first cut. And then after I got that shape pretty much the way I wanted, then I went in with the side. There you can see I'm on the very tip of the tool with it turned all the way over.
Yep.
Now I go in with the side with the flute up, and I can follow down around there. You got to be very careful when you come in with that one, but you can do it. But on that one that has the wing on the bottom, there you can see that wing down there in the back. If you go in here, in this area, you see my cursor. That's where I hollowed out to make that rear wing on there.
The double one. Gotcha.
It wasn't as satisfying to me as I thought it was going to look. Maybe on a bigger piece with a bigger wing, it might look a little better. I have some other samples here I can show when we're done here.
Nice proof of concept, though.
So now I'm in the back. Pretty well got a good bit of the shape of the upper end of the bottom of top that I want. So now I'm taking those corners out of the back. when you're doing these kind of pieces, you're very quickly, you get the tool rest, a lot of gap between your tool rest and your wood, because you take these high corners off very quickly and you get a lot of space. So you want to move your tool rest in, and you always want to turn the lathe off when you do these, because you get in that air pocket with the tool rest, not good. Yeah, I keep turning and stopping, looking at the thickness of the wall as I go around along the rim. And there I'm going in and with the nose.
So Ron, the jig you made in the beginning, that was just to put on the tenon
Yeah,
so that you
yeah,
can
that's
check up.
right. Yeah, you're not using the jig to turn. You can turn a little bit of the inside, but yeah, you would need to get the tenon on, and then you put it in the chuck.
Gotcha.
What kind of wood did you say this is, Ron?
Uh, box elder, I think most of it. This one I think is box elder. Now you're getting more of a continuous cut. Actually cutting a little shavings there now. But you see, I still have the tailstock in here just to make sure. It's so easy to grab the thing and rip it out of there. And you got a pretty small tenon on there. You don't have a lot of stability in the piece without that tail center in there. And this piece had you can see a little corner, it was chipped out of that piece when I first started with it. Now I've sort of got the bottom shape the one I want. Now I want to come back in the top and thin it down a little bit and work down the bottom a little more in the center. I was running this at about 16 or 1800 RPM, which is faster than I usually do. Most bowls I turn around 700 or 800 at the highest end on a conventional bowl. But these I did have up about 16, 1800 in some cases. So you're getting pretty steady cut there now.
Why did you choose to go to 1600 if you don't normally do that, Ron?
With the intermittent cutting, I feel like you get a better cut. I think what happened there actually pulled the thing out of the chuck.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, you have more wood coming around at the higher speed.
Fair enough.
I don't know. I feel better when I'm going faster on intermittent cuts like that. I didn't, in this video, I didn't include how I take the bottom off, but I do that the same as I do any other ones. I reverse the thing and put it on a jam chuck, bring the tailstock up, and just like I'm doing here, turn it down to a very small nub, and then saw the nub off and sand the end of it. But with the speed you're turning it, you can get a pretty nice cut. You take your time and go down through there. And of course, most on these kind of pieces, it's all the sanding is all pretty much hand sanding or with the lathe off. You're not going to sand much with the lathe on. A little bit down the bottom of the bowl, but when you get up on the wings, well, you've got too much intermittent there.
Ron, how did you take this, by the way? I know you've talked about it in the past. You got a camera boom or something or a mount over the lathe?
Yeah, I have a jig I made, a little rig. I just wanted to point out back here where it has stopped before. There was a ridge. I don't know if you noticed that. Can't find it. Right here, there's that, see that ridge? And there's, yeah, right in there. There's a little bit of a ridge in that. That last cut is trying to get that out of there. But what was that question again? That last question?
About your camera rig.
Yeah. Yeah, I usually, I have an old cell phone, iPhone 5, and I made a little base jig for it that I could set on. And that's what I used to shoot this with. So that's the end of it. As I said, I turn that around, jam it up and use a jam chuck.
Cool, thank you.
That's a great technique. And it makes a really interesting form.
And thanks, Ron. That's cool.
Yeah, but yeah, let me get back here.
You know, I always thought that the typical winged bowl was just bandsawed after, you know, from a regular bowl. The ones that are more symmetrical or such. That's terrific. It's neat to see that.
No, I made a lot of bowls with, well, you take a log horizontal and turn a perfect cylinder in it, and then turn it 90 degrees and put it on.
Yeah.
And turn a bowl, and you've got two big wings and a little small bowl in the center. I've
Yeah.
done a number of those.
I'm just thinking of the normal triangular wing.
Yeah, so yeah, that's right. I was going to say I have some other pieces here. Let me see if I can get over here. Well, I'm in speaker view. Okay. At any rate, here's that bowl that was on the lathe that you saw. That, like I said, that's about a 4-inch cube that started with.
Nice.
There's a little 3-inch. They're just cute little bowls, I think. I had a piece of walnut that was not quite 3 inches, and it wasn't square. So I glued some cherry onto it, about a 1/4-inch cherry on each side, and turned them out. And that's what I got. On the one side, you get a rather interesting pattern. The other side, you get a cherry edge. So that leads me to think that some laminated 1/2 inch strips laminated together are gonna make some interesting pieces.
For sure.
Oh, here's that one that has the two
Wow.
rings on it. Okay, so, as I'm doing this one, I'm turning all this out of there. But when I did this one, I didn't do that. I come up in here and turned underneath and then come down in here to do this part. So you leave the wing on. I think on a bigger piece, that might not be so bad. So I thought, okay, here's a 4.5 inch piece of ash that I did that with. I took the whole bottom out of it. Like I did with this one, I left the bottom in. With this one, I took the bottom out. Well, I end up with a dome, and it sits on these 3 points. And the dome is suspended off the table. And then there's the top. I dyed it and then used liming wax on it. But it makes it's different, and it's not a bad looking design, but maybe a different size, maybe a bigger piece. I've done square bowls where I leave the corners and it sits on all 4 corners. Now this one's sitting on 3 corners, so some different little tricks.
Great stuff.
I've seen these where with the boxes. I just had this little piece and I made a lid, but a nice elegant finial lid on something like that might dress that up a little bit more.
That would look nice that way.
So anyway, that's some of the other pieces I've done.
Fantastic. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks, Ron, for doing
Thanks,
that.
Ron.
Yep. Thank you, Ron.
Does anyone have any other news or announcements or anything to bring to the club?
Think we're good?
I think we're good. All right, everyone. We'll close for tonight and see you all June 1st for our next meeting. The theme again for the challenge is the chess set. And if you have an idea for a demo or would like to do a demo, please reach out to Ben. And if you would have a chance to send John Kelsey an email wishing him well, that would be greatly appreciated.
Hey, Matthew, just to clarify for the challenge, when Johnine was asked about that, last, when she brought the challenge to the club, the challenges to the club,
Yes.
she certainly in Johnnine's fashion would say, of course, you have to have a complete set of chessmen and so on. But really, she did come back and clarify that, 1 or 2 pieces that kind of represents an exotic look that is yours is what she was looking to try to put out there as a challenge.
Maybe we sign everybody a couple of pieces and we end up with a set.
Sure.
Good night, guys.
All right. Good night, everybody.